there is a legend of a man who strapped a rocket to his car and flew. In 2003, the Mythbusters brought the legend to life, but it failed to fly.
Darn.
In 2007, they returned, more armed and more dangerous.
It's heading towards the ramp.
But crashed and burned. Now, they're back with a vengeance. So prepare for traction, heart-stopping action,
I got control.
and ultimate satisfaction. Because they're taking this myth to the extreme and beyond.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage
That is science.
and Jamie Hyneman.
I'm ready.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara,
Oh, it's burrowing.
Carrie Byron,
Always makes me feel dangerous.
and Tori Belleci.
There's something you don't see every day.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
Hey there. After 10 years and 200 episodes, we are finally go for launch.
With the myth that launched the legend.
Exactly. To celebrate Mythbusters' 10th anniversary of being on the air, we are finally going to tackle once and for all the one that got away.
Rockets and cars.
Yeah, so strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get an echo here? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for JATO. Mission accomplished. It's on.
Oh, it's on, because this is JATO 3, and we are all systems go for takeoff. It's the urban legend that began the busting. Supposedly, an airman strapped a jet-assisted takeoff unit to his Impala and rocketed across the desert at 350 miles per hour. But when he hit a bump, his car took to the air and soared for over a mile until a cliff brought his journey to an abrupt end. But did this jet-assisted joyride really take wing? The Mythbusters are joining forces to close the case once and for all.
All right, JATO 3, mission accomplished. What is the plan?
Okay, here it is. We do 2 launches. The first one is the original myth as stated. We get a Chevy Impala, strap a reliable set of rockets to it, light them up, and aim them towards a bump in the road.
And see whether it takes off or not.
Exactly.
And if we don't get that, we up the rocket power and add a ramp.
Well, you know, first off, we need a couple of these things. A couple of Chevy Impalas with remote control. Grant?
Sounds good to me.
We are also going to need a safe place from which to steer them, like a mobile command bunker.
Like a Mythbusters tank.
Exactly.
This is gonna be insane.
Yes, it is.
And for Destination Insanity, the first element of this rocket rodeo is to chase up a Chevy.
In the testing of this story, we have already utterly destroyed 2 Chevy Impalas. In this very episode, we're destroying 2 more, and this one is the most beautiful of the lot, hands down. This car, somebody loved this car. From the paint job to the red wheels to the cherry white and red leather interior and the custom wooden console, this thing is magnificent with all sorts of attachments like this. Check it out. Yeah. It almost makes you sad to destroy it. Almost.
Almost. But the rockets have to go somewhere. And back at the shop, it's time to unpimp this ride.
That's good.
Wow, they really tried to make this car pretty. The love, you feel the love.
Yeah.
We're about to just throw into a dumpster.
Yep, the car is stripped bare.
As soon as I walked in, the guy said, "Take a seat." And I said, "Okay."
And then Adam brings out his favorite friend. To clear some junk from the trunk to make room for the rear thrusters.
Now run really fast to push the car.
That are so big, the glass has got to go too.
Wow! What the hell? There we go. That was awesomely difficult.
Difficult, but for the most important element, it's over to Jamie.
We're going to mount 5 2,000-pound thrust rockets on the back of this car, which means I'm going to have to build a really reinforced mounting system. Why? Well, one of our biggest concerns is that a rocket might become detached from the car after ignition, and that effectively means it would become a missile, and we don't want that.
It's a rocket, man.
So to keep everybody safe, we're triangulating this rocket pocket to as many points on the chassis as we can. Hopefully that'll keep everything where it's supposed to be.
That's one rocket car mod complete, and emotions are running high.
Gotta say, seeing the car in the shop like that, it's a little emotional.
Really?
Well, 10 years ago when we set an Impala up like this for the exact same stunt, we didn't know what was ahead of us. I mean, I have to admit I'm getting a little choked up.
You done?
Yeah.
Good, because we got to get this puppy over to Grant so he can RC it.
All right.
So the Impala rolls out of one shop and into the next,
This is what you call a classic.
where Dr. RC is waiting to give the patient its treatment.
So our classic car is now ready for the radio-controlled treatment, and that is going to include steering, throttle, brake, emergency kill, and something special to switch it into neutral just after the rocket's fired.
That's what it's got to do. And not only is that a huge task, it also comes with some huge stakes.
Believe me, this project, there's a lot of pressure here. It's got to track perfectly straight. It's got to be rock solid. It's got to stop on a dime if anything goes wrong. But if everything goes right, it's got to keep going no matter what. It's going to be a big job, but I think I'm up to the task.
With a lengthy list of previous RC successes,
Stay on target.
it's safe to say Grant has the control under control. So phase 2, the mobile command bunker, can begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I have here is the follow vehicle that Jamie and Adam are going to be driving as they go after the JATO rocket car. What we need to do is build some kind of structure around the cab that will give them maximum protection if something goes wrong.
To do that, we're welding a steel cage all the way around the cab. Then we're attaching polycarbonate blast shields all the way around that. Now imagine Jamie and Adam moving down the desert, radio controlling a rocket car from inside this post-apocalyptic sci-fi looking beast. This is gonna be awesome.
Awesome. 5 tons of steel, kinda awesome.
I know this seems like overkill, but remember, we are unleashing a rocket-powered car. This thing's got to be strong. I mean, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Indeed. So the steel frame is cut,
Am I the only one that has the theme to A-Team going through my head right now?
welded together, hoisted into position, and attached to the truck, which is just what the Hyneman ordered.
Is that beefy enough for you?
I think that's going to do it.
I mean, you know, it's your life on the line. You guys are going to be in there driving. So we want to make it as beefy as possible.
Well, thank you.
We don't want you to get hurt, big guy.
Don't touch me.
Sorry.
Jamie's happy, so the frame is finished, and even the rain doesn't ruin this parade.
You're probably asking yourself, how are they going to be able to get into the cab? That's probably the coolest part about this whole thing. And then Jamie and Adam can get in and out. How cool is this? I mean, this is serious Mad Max stuff.
And with some Mad Max reinforcements and a macho paint job, The Road Warrior is primed.
Now all we have to do is cover all the sides with our thick polycarbonate blast shields, and that should create an impenetrable steel cage box covering all of the vulnerable bits so that Jamie and Adam will be able to deflect any shrapnel or, say, stray rockets that come their way.
So the last pieces of the puzzle, the blast shields, are bolted into position on all three sides of the cage.
Man, what are we gonna do with this truck when we're done with the experiment?
I think we're ready for the apocalypse.
And with that, the truck bunker is ready to hit the road.
Woo!
Meanwhile, next door,
Oh, morning, everybody.
Grant has finally finished remote controlling the Impala.
Okay, so this car is ready to go with all of its radio control. But you know what? It hasn't been tested all together as a system yet. So to do that, we need to go somewhere remote, where there aren't a lot of people or things to crash into.
Well, the New Jerusalem runway should fit that bill.
A little foggy this morning.
Yep. Shall we drive a car while standing in a single location?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Sounds like a plan.
That could have gone better.
But this time, there's a twist.
Normally, we radio control full-size cars like you would a toy car, just by operating a transmitter and driving it. But for obvious reasons, it'd be best if we had a view that was exactly like it was in the car. And so what we've done is we put a camera in this car right where the driver would be, giving us the same view, and we're going to try to drive it via monitor. It's sort of like a virtual reality system.
Yep, and once the motor is running,
We're on.
Excellent.
with only the monitor for reference,
And here we go.
Grant takes the Impala for a spin.
It's moving.
Because
After a ginger start,
Look at that.
it's clear that Grant's years of GTA have paid off.
Line it up on the white line. Oh, hey. Oh, you're trying to miss the camera.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Nice. Oh.
And the virtual remote control system is also ahead of the curve.
You stop, and brakes on.
well,
Well done.
All right.
That fantastic systems check.
yeah.
So that was a successful test. You know, the car starts, that it drives, that it stops, that it steers, kind of. As a bonus, we can switch it into neutral when we have to, and kill it if anything goes awry.
That is a very promising systems check.
Yeah, not a bad start.
A few tweaks here and there, and we'll be good to go.
Well, let's head to the desert.
In this urban legend, a speed freak strapped a rocket to his car, hit a bump, and flew through the air for over a mile until a cliff brought his sky ride to an end. It's the very first one that got away. And despite 2 previous attempts, this myth has remained unanswered. So now, the Mythbusters are back in the Mojave to put it to rest once and for all.
You know what? I never get tired of doing experiments in the desert.
I don't think I do either. It's a good day for rockets and mayhem.
Well, this is it. I know it looks like I'm standing in the middle of nowhere, but in point of fact, I'm standing on the Cuddyback Dry Lake bed in the Mojave Desert. 5 miles long, 2 miles wide. This is where the first episode of Mythbusters we ever shot 10 years ago reaches its natural conclusion. This is where our rocket car, our Chevy Impala, hopefully will finally catch some air.
So, all that's left is to attach the rockets to the car and go for it, right? Well, actually, no. See, first, we have to nail down our safety. Then we have to measure out a length of desert highway. And then we have to check the RC system. And when we're happy with all that, then and only then do we attach the rockets to the car. Which means I better get back to work, huh?
There's a lot to do, but as always, it's safety first.
Now, once these rockets go off, this car is gonna turn into a 5,000-pound missile. And if it decides to go off course, we're gonna need protection. And that's where this comes in. This is a Hunter blast-resistant steel building. And it can withstand a 1,200-pound ampo blast 75 feet away. And it is 2 times more blast-resistant than a reinforced concrete building. I'm gonna feel really safe inside of there.
That's mission control sorted. But Adam and Jamie will ride in the belly of the beast.
How do you like the beast?
I'm speechless. I think we'll be safe in it. That thing is seriously badass, but, you know, it's missing one little touch.
That's how you take a myth by the horns.
That's everyone protected.
Yeehaw!
So next up is that highway to the danger zone.
So the myth is that our driver hit this bump on the side of the road and got airborne. Now, the side of the road, it's not a huge bump. It's just about a speed bump. So we're gonna make this little berm, this little bump, out of these 50-pound sandbags. Actually, a line of 50-pound sandbags about 50 feet long. Oh, crap, this one's leaking.
It's ironic. It's like we're getting ready for a flood in the desert.
For visibility, it's back to black for the berm, while Adam is fashioning the guideline.
Well, they told me I'd be working on the runway, so I put together something a little special. In fact, this is one of our white stripes. We're gonna lay them out for about 300 feet right down the center line, and these will be what we will use to aim the car towards ground zero. Perfect.
Nailed it.
Next, the route is lined with cones, and then there's one final and very important mark to make.
So we have decided to set off the rockets at 200 feet before the target. That'll give the rockets enough time to burn to get the car up to speed and make sure we hit our target. However, there is one problem.
The problem is that there's a 1-second delay between the time I push the button and the rockets ignite. And we want that to happen well before the berm. That's why I have this big black marker here. For wanting to push the button. No pressure here.
No pressure. And with the fast lane set, Jamie's bumper to bumper on the car.
This may look like a heck of a bumper, but that's not actually what it's here for. It's here for its weight, because we need the car to fly like a rocket. And to do that, it's crucial that we have proper balance. In rockets, you need to have the center of gravity forward of the geometrical center. And so, since we've added a lot of weight in the back, because our rockets are actually quite heavy, we need to add a bunch of extra weight on the front of the car, and hopefully we'll bring that center of gravity forward enough to do the job.
Yep, and with the bumper on the front, the rockets are carefully loaded onto the back.
Does this look as dangerous as it feels?
Is that a rocket in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Yes.
But for safety, they won't be wired to ignite until launch.
Okay, that's it.
And speaking of ignition, time to check the Cobra firing system.
The rockets are in, but more importantly, the ignition system is in. Now this is critical because this is where everything could go horribly wrong.
This is ignition test in 3, 2, 1. That's awesome!
It's awesome. And with the car dressed for success, Adam's getting excited.
For me, the most intensely rewarding thing about doing this story now is thinking about the last 10 years and how far we've come. I look at the very first rocket car story, the first story we shot, the first story that aired 10 years ago, and we were so green. We knew so much less than we know now. Yeehaw! And it really feels rewarding to be back out in the desert, putting the final nail in the coffin of this story, hopefully, and putting it to rest once and for all. It feels great.
The next check to make is the remote control. And for that, Grant's reinvented the steering wheel.
Everybody clear! They're going to be using these controls, which include gas, steering, brake, and of course, the kill switch. All this is going to put Jamie as close as he can be, while still being safe, to being in the driver's seat.
Yep, and now to put them into the beast. along with something that helps them keep their eye on the prize.
Well, what this is an eye tracking system created by a company called iTech, and they use an infrared camera to track the movements of my eyes. That information is sent wirelessly to the rocket car and the camera that's in it, and so when I look right or left, that camera is looking right or left. Now, what's neat about this is that I'm essentially in the car experiencing this thing. I can look around, I can see the same image as if I were there in that car with the rockets going.
And with the controls in situ,
I'm ready.
inside the Beast, Adam and Jamie prepare for a static range test.
Okay, I need you to step on the brake.
That is so cool.
Car going into drive. Okay, chocks away. Okay, Jamie, it's under your control.
The theory is that this system should have at least 1,500 feet of range, which is something Jamie quickly proves.
You're at 1,500 feet. That's fantastic. You still have control?
Yeah.
Excellent.
First test couldn't have gone better. I was able to steer perfectly, stop perfectly. I had good acceleration. Everything's working like a charm.
Working like a charm. But now, to add another layer of complexity.
In this test, both the white car and our truck will be moving so that we can make sure we are within radio range as long as possible.
So this time, both Mythbusters are in the driver's seat. Jamie for the Beast and Adam the Impala. And with the shields down, they hit the gas.
In 3, 2, 1, go. 10 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour.
However, controlling one moving vehicle from another isn't easy.
You're going way off.
Oh, it's moving off to the right a bit. Oh, it's way right. Get back in the center.
As the car veers out of control at 50 miles per hour,
Stop!
Adam puts the brakes on the test.
All I see is a cloud of dust.
I can't even see the car anymore.
This is a great example of why you run tests, because that didn't work at all. Trying to drive the rocket car via the remote screen while the dump truck is moving threw my sense of direction and steering completely out of whack. It's not feasible. We've got enough signal strength to make it to the berm, we're pretty sure. There's enough things that could already go wrong without adding that difficulty, so the truck will remain stationary for this test.
With so much that could go wrong, it's all about limiting risk, which means keeping it simple and keeping the Beast stationary. So the last thing to worry about is the rockets.
For due diligence, we test fired one of the rockets out of the batch of rockets we're going to be using on the cars. And it was successful. The thing is that these rockets are basically a controlled explosion, and to get the most power per pound out of them, they push them right to the edge. And if they make a mistake and they push them a little too far, you've got a pipe bomb. And that's basically what happened on the second rocket car. This time, since we've done test fire and it was successful, we anticipate we should have a successful run on the cars.
Well, those could be famous last words. But with the equivalent force of a JATO wired for action,
This is gonna be awesome.
this little Impala is packing heat.
In plain talk, 10,000 pounds of thrust is 4,500 horsepower. That's a lot of go fast.
A lot of go fast. And with the rockets locked, loaded, and live, the countdown can begin.
All right, this is it. 10 years in the making from the very first episode of Mythbusters. And here is how our test is gonna work.
Adam and I will be driving the rocket car from inside this thing right here, which we call the Beast. It's our mobile bunker.
Tori Grant and I will be here in the command center, monitoring the car getting up to speed. When it hits its mark, I'll hit this button.
And then, 1 second later, the rockets will ignite, and that rocket car will go racing straight into the berm.
And if all of that works absolutely perfectly and this myth is true, we should find this car converted into nothing but a hunk of metal embedded in that mountain over there.
Well, at T-minus 30 seconds, everybody gets into position to test that theory. Adam and Jamie are hunkered inside the beast.
For real? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Tori and Carrie have their fingers on the button inside mission control.
All right, Grant, go ahead and start the car.
I have got butterflies in my stomach.
And Grant starts the car. Grant starts the car.
Just when you think you've got the radio, the video, everything else all figured out, the car won't start.
It's a last-minute stall, but Jamie gives the Impala some gas. And eventually, it sputters to life. So at T-minus 40 seconds, it's chocks away.
Okay, the rockets are armed. We are on our way.
And then finally, it's all over to Adam.
All right.
All right, all systems are ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
I swear my heart's beating like 100 times a second. Here we go. Carrie, are you ready on the button?
Ready.
Tori, are all the cameras rolling?
We are ready here in the bunker.
All right, let's do this. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Rocket car, JATO, mission accomplished in 3, 2, 1. Break off. Here we go.
There she goes.
Since the beginning of Mythbusters in 2003, the team has put over 850 myths to the test. But one legend has long eluded them. And now, after a decade, they're back for the ultimate conclusion. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, start your rocket engines. 'Cause this is JATO 3. It's the myth of a rookie rocketeer who attached a JATO to his car and went from 50 to 300 miles per hour in no seconds flat. But when he hit a bump in the road, he was launched into urban legend and a cliff face. But will that be the case when the legend comes face to face with reality?
I, for one, believe that the rockets will ignite right about where I'm standing. The car will reach 120 miles an hour when it hits the berm. It will not take off from the ground until it gets above 200 miles an hour, at which point its direction will become unstable and it will roll 5, 6, 7, or 8 times.
What do I think's gonna happen? I think Adam's gonna drive perfectly straight down the course. Carrie's gonna ignite the rockets at the perfect time. They're gonna go off, accelerate the car to incredible speed, and it's gonna smash right through the berm and continue on its merry way on the ground.
What do I think's gonna happen? I think there's gonna be one heck of a speed bump.
I further predict that Jamie's prediction will be, I don't know what's going to happen. That's what the experiment's for.
What's my prediction? What do I know? If I knew what was going to happen, we wouldn't be doing the test.
Told ya!
There's so many things that could go wrong right now that I'm not really concerned whether or not this car's gonna fly. I just wanna make sure it drives straight, the rockets go off at the right time, and it hits the berm. Is it gonna fly? I don't know. But if it doesn't, it's not for a lack of trying.
Arming?
Indeed. And with the rockets armed, the car primed, and the team hunkered in their bunkers.
I swear my heart's beating like 100 times a second.
After a decade of myth-busting and 2 failed attempts, the myth comes down to this. Will the Impala finally take flight? Or will it go down in flames and Mythbusters history?
Rocket car towards the berm. 5 rockets in 3, 2, 1. We are starting off. Brake is off.
There she goes.
Okay, the car is rolling.
Doing good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's hearts and mouths time
25.
as Adam slowly accelerates the car up to 50 miles per hour.
You're drifting. Straighten it out.
Yep.
And back on the center line,
37. You're Doing good.
Get ready, Carrie.
The Impala reaches the black flag.
You're gonna make it.
Over we go.
Wow!
Well,
I saw sky! I saw sky just for a second. Woo!
they got airborne.
That was amazing!
Wow. That was insane. 1 second the car was there, and the next second it was gone.
On ignition, the Impala rocketed to 200 miles per hour, barreled over the berm, careened out of control, and twisted through the air, leaving in its wake the kind of debris you only get when you combine the Mythbusters, rockets, and cars.
Wow. That thing is mangled.
Holy cow!
That's a work of art.
Yep, this is what happens between a rocket and a hard place.
See it, but I don't believe it.
Oh my God, the front end is completely smashed.
That is cool looking.
Aw.
Wow. Did it even catch air?
I saw it clear about 20 feet or so. It was quite a ways after the berm, but who knows what it was doing. It was just going nuts.
But it was nothing like the Myth.
No, it was far more out of control.
Far more out of control, because one thing is for sure, that Impala certainly didn't make the Mile High Club.
Rockets!
Look at that.
And then, oh, you know what? The wheel went under, it went sideways, it flipped end over end, and wow! That thing got tore up. Beautiful.
That might be my favorite high-speed shot I've ever seen.
That was gorgeous.
And I love that it lands on its base. Oh, and there goes the tire.
It's rocketed to #1 for Adam. And for Carrie, it was one heck of a nail-biter.
This is one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life. The car starts to move. It's kicking up dirt like crazy. It's moving faster and faster. It's getting closer to the mark. My hand is shaking above the ignition button. I'm waiting. The car approaches the black marker. It crosses, I push the button, and then the longest second of my life begins. There's a lag time, but my heart doesn't know that. I stop breathing, the butterflies are puking in my stomach, and then whoosh, rockets ignite, the car screams towards the berm, goes over it, and then starts to veer to the left, and then end over end, engines, wheels, carnage. Great experiment.
A great experiment that was worth the wait.
Now, when I first started on Mythbusters, Adam told me it's probably gonna last about a year. And I can't believe 10 years later, we are back out here in the Mojave Desert testing the very first Myth JATO rocket car. And everything went perfect. The car went straight, the rockets went off, we hit the berm, it flew up into the air, flipped around, and then crashed. The best part is we finally got to the bottom of this Myth. He didn't fly into the cliff. This one's busted. Finally.
And although we didn't see a car fly, you can't say they didn't try.
Well, what can you say? We're not rocket scientists. I do want to point out, though, that the only thing that survived this whole thing was what I built and things that were attached to what I built. It's still here. The rocket pocket and the truss. Heck, the whole engine fell off. The whole front of the car fell off.
I think it's pretty clear. What we have here is a case of Mythus testis. We just have to find the culprits.
So as the sun sets on the wreckage, those culprits can close the case.
So do you guys want to call the myth 10 years later?
I think we can definitively say that the original rocket car myth, once and for all, totally busted.
Is this the part of the story where we get to replicate the results?
Let's do it.
Yes!
sun rises here on the Mojave Desert, allow me to welcome you back to JATO Mission Accomplished. 10 years ago, on our very first ever episode of Mythbusters, we replicated a famous urban legend by strapping a rocket to a car, and it did this. 4 years later, in 2007, with more knowledge and more rocketry, we attempted to go bigger and ended up with this.
Or not.
Clearly, we still had work to do. So, earlier on in this very episode, we replicated precisely all the circumstances of the original myth, and we ended up with this. Here's how it looked. But of course, that's not good enough for us, because a rocket doesn't bounce along the ground. A rocket flies through the sky. That is our goal. That's what we're here to do. Shall we begin?
Yep, the show ain't over until the rocket car flies. So here's that second Impala they made earlier. Fitted with a heavy-duty rocket pocket and a remote control system. It's identical to Impala 1, but this time it's racing red.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do differently. First of all, we're gonna give the Impala 6 rockets. That's 20% more power, and by our calculations, should get it airborne. But second, and most importantly, we're gonna give this car a little jump start on gravity.
So to see the Impala take flight this time around, they're literally ramping up the test.
This time we are getting that car airborne no matter what it takes, and we've decided what it takes is a ramp.
Can we get some help over here? Yeah! This is exactly how the Egyptians did it.
Moving in, moving in. We built more than a few in our 10-year tenure on Mythbusters. We built a huge one out of dirt for the Dukes of Hazzard jump. And we used a couple of old shipping containers to launch the second rocket car. Actually, it didn't launch at all. But for this one, we've decided to build the ramp wholly from scratch. Why? Because it turns out after all these years, we now know how to do that.
Well, maybe not exactly from scratch, because you know what?
This is very similar to the barn raisings Jamie used to do as a child.
They already make these things. They're pre-manufactured and they're called roofs. We're also going to put them together with screws so we can recycle the lumber.
It's a roof job, but someone's got to do it.
Next on speed building. Will they get the roof done before the sun goes down?
Well, yes. And remember, this isn't just a ramp. It's also a launching pad.
This ramp's job is to send that rocket car up in the air. In order to do that, it has to change its direction, which means it has to take all its forward momentum and alter it slightly, which means we have to spread a tremendous load right here at the front part of the ramp, which we've done with 5 inches thick of wood spreading that load. Hopefully that'll be enough.
Hopefully, because at 32 feet wide, 65 feet long, and 11 feet off the desert floor, that's one rugged ramp. But to become part of the JATO legend, it's going to need to look the part.
Oh, yeah!
Jump that way.
That way. Hopefully the car will obey the arrow. Uh-oh. I see a problem.
Well, there she blows. 1,100 feet of white line fever ending in what is undoubtedly the most beautiful ramp we have ever made on this show. And it's only ever going to get one set of tire tracks.
Only one set, courtesy of Big Red, which is ready and raring for a quick systems check.
Okay, Jamie, go ahead.
Brake is off. Nice acceleration, nice and smooth.
Yes!
That was so straight, he's got it!
I'm stopping.
Woo!
Just add rockets. Good job.
The launch pad, the car, and its new pilot, the Hyneman, are good to go. So now to add that explosive payload, the rockets.
This time, we're using 6 rockets. That's 12,000 pounds of thrust.
Yep, this car is more armed and more dangerous, with a total thrust
Perfect.
of 5,400 horsepower.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Sorry about the wrestling, but
it's better to have a tight fit than a loose fit.
that's true.
That's what I always say.
And with the rockets locked and loaded, there's just one more thing to add.
Now, I'm sure there are those among you at home who are familiar with rocketry who are wondering to yourselves, why don't we make our jobs a little easier by pulling the engine and putting a nice long tail fin stabilizer on this? Well, you see, we think of that as cheating. That turns this into a car-shaped rocket. What we want is a rocket-powered car, and that's what this is.
It's a rocket-powered car, and it's going to hit the ramp at full tilt. But will that combo finally get the Impala to fly high?
Since the dawn of time, man has never seen such engineering and ingenuity, all aimed towards one goal, one purpose: to get a car to fly like a rocket. Until now.
The story went that an airman strapped a JATO to his car, rocketed across the desert, hit a bump, and soared for over a mile. But that fatal flight is busted.
So we tested the myth exactly the way it was described, yet we could not get the rocket car to fly. So now we are back for my favorite part, which is replicating the results, or at least giving it everything we got.
Everything, because they've pimped the Impala with 12,000 pounds of thrust. And they're taking the high road.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the one-way path that our rocket car is going to be going down. It's one way because once it goes down that path, that's the last time you're going to see it looking like it does now. Ain't she pretty?
Now, our calculations say that a ramp height of 11 feet is ideal for giving us the best possible chance of getting flight. Now, if the rockets do their job, we have a projected distance of at least a mile.
That's the theory, but after 10 years of myth-busting, Adam's not quite convinced.
Jamie and I expect our car to hit the base of our ramp at 88 miles per hour, but the rockets will still be reaching their full power. We expect it to probably leave the ramp going 200 miles per hour. I'm predicting at least 700 or 800 feet. I don't think it's going to go a mile. I don't think it's going to go 3.5 miles. I'm saying 700 or 800 feet.
And that's if it even makes it up the ramp, because rockets can be anything but predictable. However, with only one car left, this is their last shot. And it's all down to the Hyneman.
Shields are engaged. It's all you, buddy.
The pressure is on, because he must keep the car on track and hit the ramp dead center to bring 10 long years of sweat, blood, and gears to its ultimate conclusion.
Let's do it.
Once again, Grant starts the Impala.
Sounds great.
Seating to the bunker.
Arming.
Then the rockets are armed,
Take it away, you guys.
and it's the final countdown.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the final journey of the rocket car 10-year anniversary. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Brake is off. Car is moving.
Jamie slowly accelerates the Impala towards the ramp.
10, 11, 12, 13. You're right on center. You're looking great. 21, 22. You're slightly steering to the right of the black line. 31, 32. You're doing great. 37, 39, 40. You're doing fantastically.
All right, you guys are looking good. Center up. He's gonna hit right now.
There goes the rockets. Wow. I have no idea what happened. All I see is smoke.
Well, luckily, viewers, you've got the best seat in the house.
Wow, that was intense.
Because it's clear that the rocket car finally flew.
Wow! Holy!
For 10 fleeting seconds, it pirouetted through the air.
Do you see that? It hit the ramp and was insane!
It's just a pity about the crash landings in between.
That's intense. Let's go check it out.
As the remains of the Impala are doused by the fire department,
Woo!
the Mythbusters go in for a closer look.
Looks like the whole car's been pushed up inside its chassis.
Wow.
Oh, man.
This car seems to have met an angry giant.
Now that's what I call an ending. Woo!
Isn't that something?
You know, I'm becoming kind of fond of the steaming hulks that we are getting used to seeing after these things.
The Steaming Hulk. That's our Mythbusters superhero.
Yeah.
The Steaming Hulk.
So I guess no jet-powered car on the way home, huh?
Nope, I think this is a total loss.
It's a total loss for the car, but an epic win for the Mythbusters.
Well, that was about as neat a run as you could hope for. Once Grant had started the car, gave us control, and everyone was in their bunker, Jamie started the car. Started off at a nice low speed, gave it a little bit of gas, stayed really dead on center. At the moment it crossed Carrie's button line, I couldn't see a thing. I'm looking straight out the windshield and all I saw was smoke. For all I knew, the whole thing blew up right there on the stand.
What happened?
And then the smoke starts to clear. And as the smoke's clearing, I can see that Jamie has perfectly hit the ramp. I mean, totally straight, but with a tremendous amount of force. The ramp seems torn up. After that, all we could see behind the ramp is just a smoking hulk. We approached it with our shields on and waited for the fire department to put it out. The amount of destruction on that is truly shocking. There's nothing car-like about it anymore.
This couldn't have gone any better. The car went straight down the track. The rockets went off at the perfect timing. It went off the ramp, but even with all that power, it did not fly as far as the myth claims. It did fly, though, and after seeing that crash, you couldn't ask for a better result.
Look at this ramp! Oh my gosh! Look at this! Not even through the dust cloud. Jamie nailed it straight up the center. He tore up the ramp and the rockets blew the carnage backwards. Beautiful.
All right, so when you think about man-made things that are intended to fly, like an airplane, a missile, an arrow, they all have something in common. They're not shaped like a car. Even with the benefit of incredible thrust, perfect weight distribution, a ramp to give it an ideal initial trajectory, we couldn't make this car fly more than 600 feet. The myth of the rocket car, it's busted.
I guess we're still a ways away from those flying cars everybody wants.
Yep, finally this myth, just like the car, is totally and utterly busted.
Well, I think our work here is done.
I think so.